going on inside of my mind, telling me to get a butcher knife up out of the kitchen. Hey, wait a minute, listen.
Hey, Chris here from CritCast.com. I know it's been a while since I've done one of these, but figured, why not? Let's give it another shot, see if I can get back into doing some of them. I know you're probably not all interested in, looking at me talk about movies, but hey, what the hell? If you're going to watch it, you're going to deal with it, right? Anyway, this past weekend I saw a couple of movies that I don't really have any intention of doing full reviews on. In an ideal world, I'd want to do full reviews on everything I watch, but frankly, some movies just don't inspire me that enough, or I just don't feel like having the words, or just don't have the time. Anyway, I thought I'd share a few words with a couple of those movies. The first one I saw was the new Horrible Bosses 2, which, frankly, I'm not sure the movie the series it really needed a sequel, but it wasn't too bad. It was kind of like after when it ended, I don't think I'll have any intention of ever watching it again. But for the most part, I laughed here and there. I do like the combination of the cast members. Jason Bateman, Charlie Day, Jason Sudeikis. Those guys work well together. Jennifer Aniston. The additions this time were pretty good though, with Christoph Waltz and Chris Pine. They both seemed pretty game and seemed to have a lot of fun making it. Really what it felt like to me was a mashup of Arrested Development and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which probably isn't surprising considering the cast members. But I think it's just one of those movies that it felt a bit like a rehash of the first one, which I don't even really remember all that well. I remember liking it, but outside of that, it doesn't seem like there's any real need to have a sequel to it. Still, it seemed like, these guys had some time to kill and decided to make a movie, and there you go. It was fun. The plot doesn't really... It's a little silly, the kidnapping plot, but I laughed, and I guess when it comes right down to it, that's all that really matters. So, as you can see, it didn't really leave a big enough impression on me to really want to make a full-blown review for it. The next movie I saw the other day was Dr. Cabby, which is a Canadian-Indian production that centers on a recent graduate from an Indian medical school, a doctor who moves to Canada with his mother to be with his uncle and, start up a career there. It's not a bad movie. It's nothing special. It has a little sitcom-ish quality to it, but overall, it's an enjoyable film about a doctor, trying to find his way, who can't get a job as a doctor, so he, falls into work as a cab driver. Once the people find out that he's a doctor, he starts turning into like this mobile clinic. And of course, something happens that, causes him to get in trouble for, practicing without a license and whatnot. It's a upbeat movie. It's a movie that makes you smile. It's a trifling entertainment. I'm glad I saw it, but it's another one of those movies that I don't think I ever really need to see it. It's kind of like an East meets West kind of production, in that it has a bit of that Bollywood style, although it's considerably shorter and it has no real musical numbers aside from one during the end credits. But still, it's fun. It features Adrian Palicki, who was recently in John Wick and was from Friday Night Lights, and then was in the second G.I. Joe movie, as well as the Indian actor from Big Bang Theory. I apologize, I don't recall what his name was, but he plays the character named Tony in Dr. Cabby. It's not one you don't really need to feel to rush out and see, but it's definitely, one worth checking out maybe when it hits Netflix or DVD, worth a rental if you're looking for something like light and entertaining. The third movie I saw this weekend, and I think my overall lack of enjoyment of it has more to do with myself and what I want from a Stephen Hawking film more than what the movie is. If you couldn't guess, that movie is the Theory of Everything, which is about Jane and Stephen Hawking. It's based on Jane's book, which right there should have clued me in that it wasn't really going to be the movie that I wanted. The thing is, when I see a movie about Stephen Hawking, I'd like to see a movie about him dealing with his motor neuron disorder as he works his science. I'd like the science element to be a big piece of it. However, in this movie, the science was more of a background, something on the side. It would just happen to be there. It was more about a movie of someone learning to deal with having the disease, and being in a relationship with someone who has the disease. Especially when you have a life expectancy of just 2 years and you outlive it by a lot, and you defeat the odds. In one aspect, it's really a pretty amazing story. However, the film seems, a bit run of the mill. It has like this romantic kind of quality to the way it's shot. It's all in this, has this soft focus to it. It doesn't shy away from some of the more difficult, aspects. They seem to allude to the idea that Jane only really married him because he was only expected to live 2 years. And when he lived longer, it kind of changed things. Which I don't know the truth of that. I haven't really read the book or really researched their lives, but it was interesting to see that an element like that was there, as well as the possibility of infidelity. At the same time, I do have to say that Eddie Redmayne, who plays Stephen Hawking, he nails it. He has a physical resemblance to Hawking, and he really does a fantastic job of becoming Stephen Hawking. The way he holds himself, the way his body has kind of given up, if you will. Now, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of biopic type films. I always I have a preference for genre filmmaking and the idea of an actor having to create something completely from the page rather than off of something that who we know, who's alive. That's more mimicry. Not to downplay the talent or skill needed to be able to pull something like that off, but it's more of a personal preference in how I like to view acting. Still, some very good performances. It's not a very difficult film. It's kind of like chapters in a book. It's very straightforward. It's very easy to understand, very easy to get into. It's worth seeing. However, I don't think it's a great film, despite the fact that I think the performances are great, or at least near great. So The Theory of Everything is definitely worth checking out. It's probably the best quality film of the three I saw this weekend, with Horrible Bosses 2 being probably on the low end, even though it's still, it's mediocre enough to be entertaining. And Dr. Cabby is like right there in the middle. So that about wraps up what I saw this weekend. And, I hope you enjoy my little talk on these films. And make sure you come visit me at criticaloutcast.com. And also you can start seeing me at a new site starting up called horrorsexy.com. So be on the lookout. I'll be all over the web. And who knows, maybe we'll get some more of these videos if you like them enough. Bye.